Hello. Good morning. It is Friday the 13th with a damn near full moon in the sky tonight. We are coming to you live from a box truck in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Yesterday, this thing was quite a debacle. It was hot as hell, as were the storylines. Today, the air conditioning was fixed by Mr. Tim McAfee himself last night. The man said, I won't sleep until the conditions are perfect for you to speak into microphones, for people to hear you all across the country. I think we're on 36 stations now, boys. What was originally 40 dropped to 30 before we even talked into microphones. Now we're up to 36 here 5 days in. Big day, big day. Speaking of big days, we have one for you today. Kirk Herbstreit, yes, the voice of college football, host of College Game Day, will be joining us at 10:30. His kids play at Clemson. He'll be calling the Clemson-Syracuse game this weekend. They'll be doing College Game Day from Ames, Iowa, a great city in Iowa. Isn't that right, Ty?
Get out of town.
Ty hates Ames.
I do.
Because Ty went to Iowa. Ames is Iowa State.
Correct.
That's neither here nor there. Gronk said he had probably like 20 concussions. That's an insane quote, especially in the environment that we're currently in. So I did some investigation. I did some real journalistic investigations. I called a former teammate of mine, Pat Anger, Iowa Hawkeye legend, middle linebacker, 5'11", about 230 pounds when he played, led the NFL in tackles for a couple of years. Injuries stopped his career short. We talked to him about his concussion protocol and what he's been through and what is and isn't a concussion, and that's going to be an interesting topic I think a lot of people are going to listen to. The Bang Bros are trying to buy the Miami Heat's naming rights arena. I can't wait to chat with about that and everything else. Kurt Warner joins us in the second hour. Ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off this show. Hey, Evan Foxy. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going back there? You guys can't sit down?
I'm like spread eagle right now. I got a right hand like 10 feet this way, left foot this way. It's tough. It's tough.
Well, let's make it a little bit better. Play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a middle vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yeah, it is. You're damn right, Chase Rice. Joining you wherever you are watching is myself, Nick Moraldo, Anthony DeGilio, known as Diggs, Jose Perez, Foxy, and Ty. And today there's a lot going on. Thursday Night Football was last night. And Cam Newton, we're in the state of Carolina right now. We are an hour and 15 minutes away from the game. There was thought about potentially calling up the greatest ticket buying platform on earth, SeatGeek, and getting some good tickets last night. Instead, I had the longest day in the history of days, and we couldn't make it. But the Carolina Panthers look bad. Now, granted, we couldn't watch the game here because we're in a hotel that has DirecTV, has 500 channels, but somehow doesn't have the NFL Network. And that, I think, is going to be people's problems coming up. I think in October there's a big contract about to happen, by the way. And this is insanity because what's going on, just like The Zone, just like Netflix, just like Disney Plus, just like Amazon, Hulu, everything. Everybody's going to have their own streaming platform at some point. And DirecTV and all Xfinity, they're just going to get bumped out slowly. And I think we're kind of watching that happen. And every time I get into a hotel, I get to experience that battle that's happening behind the scenes. Because here at this Hampton Inn, we didn't have NFL Network. So we did like any good American. We stole it off of a Reddit stream.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Just completely stole it off a Reddit stream. Got to watch a little bit of it while we were recording the podcast late last night. And it was a sloppy game, obviously. The weather wasn't great, which could be bad about tonight. UNC Wake here in Winston-Salem. Early reports on the local news is A, vapes are killing everybody, and B, potential rain, but I think it's going to be a beautiful night.
Okay, good.
For the Demon Deacons and the Tar Heels to battle. But watching that game, first couple takeaways. Shout out Troy Aikman, Joe Buck for the shout out for the brand.
Awesome.
People don't know this, but Troy Aikman and I have a budding friendship. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a growing friendship. He started coaching at his high school. Well, first of all, whenever I called the Lions-Packers game, 31-0 blowout, Week 17 in Lambeau, Aaron Rodgers got hurt, played 2, trended for 4 hours, though, no playoffs on the line, nothing like that. I got a chance to call a game. Matt Prater threw a touchdown, no big deal. Troy Aikman sent me a text immediately after the game and said he enjoyed the call. And then dash Troy Aikman. Came from a random number.
Love that.
Hey, I enjoyed the call, dash Troy Aikman. And I actually screenshotted it, sent it to my dad, diehard Steeler fan growing up, hated Troy Aikman, right? My dad hated Troy Aikman. I was like, look what Troy Aikman did. I didn't see Tommy Maddox or Cordell Stewart. Neil O'Donnell. I didn't see any of them texting me, Tim. I didn't see any of these old Steelers greats.
Troy's the ultimate teammate, Fox Sports, you never heard anything bad about him in Dallas. You were working for Fox at the time. He just wanted to say, hey.
By the way.
Glue guy.
Sent me a text. I said, hey, Troy. I think I actually called him Mr. Aikman. I was like, Mr. Aikman, thank you so much for this text. I love what you and Joe Buck do. I think you guys get a lot of hate. It's probably because you're on national TV in front of everybody, just like all commentators do. But I think you and Joe are an incredible tag team. He goes, thanks. No conversation for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months maybe. Then I get another text out of nowhere. He's coaching at his kid's high school. Troy Aikman's trying to give back to the game. And he asked his kicker who his favorite player was. The kicker says me, which, by the way, shout out to that kid, making me look a lot more cooler than I am. I get a full text message from Troy Aikman. It's a 2-scroller, basically like how he's getting into the game, and he asked if I could send a message to this guy. I sent him a message, and me and Troy Aikman, I think we're friends now.
Yeah, from what I've seen, yes.
I think Troy Aikman and I are friends. That's pretty cool. Good for me.
My favorite part about Buck last night was so there's 2 drives to start the game. And they only had the Sky Cam and one other camera. And he came in and he was like, we have to use the Sky Cam because of lightning in the area. NBC tried to do this, so we're doing this. And if everyone could just relax on Twitter, pretty much, that would be great.
What self-awareness that is by Joe Buck, by the way. Hey, I want to let you guys know I was scrolling through the Twitter when NBC tried this. I know everybody hates it, but please know that we didn't want to do this. What happened was, and we just learned this from a guy that's working on our show here. His name is Chris. He was working the game last night just an hour and a half away. I would assume in North Carolina, incredibly talented production people. No, I think Charlotte, by the way, is a big hub for a lot of production companies.
I think it is, yeah.
But so we got a guy who was working the game last night, came down here. And I missed the beginning there where they're on Skycam and the delay. And I asked him, I was like, what was it, lightning? You guys couldn't? And he said, yeah, big bosses told us we had to get off the field. We literally immediately couldn't even push a setback, he said. And he said there was a lot of questions being asked, like, well, how come the players are in the field? Yeah. And basically the TV people were like, well, it's not for us to worry about. If they want to die, let them die. Because how does that happen? How does the camera people can't be there, but the players can be there? That is the NFLPA that bad that the camera operators union in North Carolina is just deboing the entire operation? That makes no sense. How about Joe Buck and Troy Aikman? They're just allowed to just sit there in the booth at the top of the stadium?
Booths are lightning proof.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think I might be in one at least for another week. I don't know. I don't know what the case is. But aside from all that, and I think we've made this pretty clear, I feel like we're a pretty progressive show.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
We're okay with adapting to technology.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge thing, I went nuts. Overtime, I went nuts. But when it comes to how a game is shot, football, I think they figured it out.
A long time ago.
I enjoy the pylon cams. I enjoy the first down cams that ESPN has for college football. I like all these innovating things. But the way the game is covered in general, I think is awesome. I think the Vince McMahon and the XFL bringing the Skycam in was an incredible addition. I do enjoy the fact that we have it. Replays, I like that. Telestrators, we don't get to use one in our games, but I enjoy that. The first down marker was an incredible, innovative thing. The darker green grass, dumbest thing we've all ever seen. If they started to put like a blue laser behind the ball, I think that'd be dumb. But I think the way the game has been standardly covered for a long time, with the camera, hard camera set in the middle, the angle to the left or to the right. And for me, the reason why I like it is for punts, they have to zoom out. Short punts, they even have to zoom out. It looks good. I learned that after retiring. I was like, oh, my God, these short punts look like they're big punts. People at home have to be watching like, oh, that's a good punt. That's a 40-yard ball. That's a terrible punt. But on camera, they have to zoom out and move it. The moving line of scrimmage cam that NBC's been doing, I don't like that.
No.
I don't like any of that. I think we're standard things. So we're okay with innovation. We just don't love that. The fact that NFL Network couldn't do anything else, something might have just blown up. I think there was a bomb.
Someone died.
What was that there?
I don't know, but I felt it right under my feet.
He's standing above the engine, too. That's great. Who knows if we're even on the air right now. But I don't think NFL Network wanted to do it. That was Joe.
No,
Buck
no,
was
no,
trying
they
to say.
did not.
Joe Sly? Is that his name?
Yeah, Joey
Kicker?
Sly.
Joey Sly.
Mm-hmm.
First things first, incredible name. We go to Monday Night Football. What was the big story out of that game?
Will Lutz,
Hits what?
58.
Yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night, what was big conversation last night? Aside from what Cam Newton wore in the postgame, aside from the 4th and 1 not giving it to Cam Newton,
Yes.
Joey Sly. This guy, 4 for 4, 51-yarder, halfway up the post, banks in, the whole thing. He's a rookie. As much as people don't want to admit it, kickers and punters are so important to football games, it's next level.
Unbelievably important.
Joey Sly craps the bed last night. Carolina Panthers aren't even in the football
Not
game.
even close.
Not even in the football game. And they're playing Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers, who were 4-12 since the eating a W speech. Not a great football team. I think by all accounts, not yet. Bruce Arians, I think it's going to take a little bit for them to get good. But if it happened already, Clyde Christensen, great quarterback coach, who knows if he'll be able to change Jameis Winston into an elite quarterback like he's done with Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and all these other players, not only Bruce Arians, but Clyde Christensen as well. Joe Buck or Troy Aikman with the quarterback whisper is going to have to talk a little louder line from the internet. I like that. I think Troy is really evolving his game. I think he's becoming a little bit of a I think he's moving forward into the next generation.
Yeah, social media savvy almost.
I think coaching in high school is keeping him younger. I think it's a good thing for him. But, boy, that Carolina Panthers team looks bad. And old gambling riverboat gambler Ron Rivera, he doesn't look excited to be there. Cam Newton's going out there with a damn bonnet, just talking to the group there, miserable. He said he's embarrassed with how he looked while wearing what he was wearing. I mean, that seems to be an interesting situation down there. And even McAfee, who seemed to be unstoppable, last night it even looked like he's been drained out. I mean, it's just, I don't know what's going on with the Panthers. But last night, that was not a performance where you think, you know what, everybody that's here right now that is of pretty importance, probably going to be around for a lot longer. That seems like we are right on the edge of a potential new Carolina Panthers-looking team.
And in week 1, they looked bad, too. Besides McCaffrey, he had 200 yards overall for them. But then last night without McCaffrey, they crossed the 50 9 times. They got 4 field goals, and that was it. So without those 4 field goals, like you were talking, they would have been screwed.
I saw Rich Eisen tweet that Deion Sanders says, you can tell how a quarterback felt going into a game by what he chose to wear to the game and what you see in the press conference afterwards. Cam Newton was joking around with Steve Smith before the game last night about playing DJ Moore. Was that the one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
DJ Moore in fantasy. I think Cam Newton came into that game feeling good. Like, I think Cam Newton came in there with a lot of confidence. I think Cam Newton is a guy who is always going to feel as if – but then afterwards – I mean, I don't think I've seen that miserable of a Cam since the Super Bowl press conference afterwards. It's almost like, what's that? Are they unraveling? Are the Carolina Panthers completely unraveling? Is Cam Newton no longer just the physical specimen football player that anytime he wanted to turn it on, he could turn it on? I got a chance to play a Monday Night Football game down in Carolina. It was raining. It was storming. The place was filled up, though. And Cam Newton was like who's the guy that stands in front of a choir that I'm told is important but looks as if it's not important?
Like a maestro?
No, maestro. I'm told it's important. I have no idea how. I feel like I could do that, but I'm told that's a very important job. I've never been in the music business. I assume they are. Cam Newton was the maestro to that entire stadium. We're talking about when the defense was on the field, he was sprinting around, making them do the thing. Whenever he got a first down, he would pose in a Superman thing, and all of a sudden the place would be like, the whole place would be doing it. Whenever he dove in for a touchdown, he dove over people. The whole crowd started singing the Superman thing. After he scores a touchdown, he does a 5-minute celebration somehow, and nobody says a word about it. Even while Graham Gano was kicking the extra point, he was sprinting around, getting the crowd hyped. It was like the Cam Newton show there. And then you watch the way that team plays, it's like, will they ever be able to get back to that? I'm not certain. At all.
I think his shoulder is a real issue. It's been 9 months since his surgery. He did throw. He had I think he did have 2 completions over 30 yards last night.
Let it air out because
So he did.
What did Hasselbeck said? He got testy whenever the person asked him about that, so he knew he was going to try to air it out a little bit.
But he was very inaccurate last night. He stood around in the pocket. He fumbled. He got sacked a lot. He doesn't look as. He definitely does not look as confident as he is.
And let's talk about this too. Cam Newton, big time quarterback. Aside from flipping a truck where it looked like he shouldn't have survived outside of the stadium, he's been hit a lot. Injuries can take a toll on somebody, not only physically, by the way, but mentally as well. Cam Newton was a lot of fun to watch when he was getting paid at Auburn, and then when he got drafted to the Panthers. He's been a fun player to watch. As another football player, when we saw him in warm-ups, I think it was his rookie year, Vinatieri and I were just looking at him, and we're like, they say all men are created equal. And we pointed at Cam Newton, we're like, that is a load, an absolute load of poo-poo. Because that man is an avatar. He's taller than us. He's faster than us. He's better looking than us. He can throw the ball better than us. He probably has a better personality than us. And if this guy ever figures out how to play football, that's what we thought. If this guy ever figures out how to play football, he is going to be lethal. Then they go to the Super Bowl, the fumble happens, and everything seems to have changed from then.
It was funny that someone tweeted last night. Think about this: 3 years ago, the Super Bowl was the Panthers and the Broncos.
Joe Flacco's going to get the Broncos back for sure. That guy looks like it. But the injuries are a real thing, man.
Yeah.
It can change a lot. We'll talk about Gronkowski here on the other side of the break. He said he probably had like 20 concussions. It was a throwaway comment for him.
It really was.
It was a throwaway in a CBS interview, by the way. CBS, very professional. Gronk had a sport coat on and a button down. We don't know what was below the waist because they didn't show that. He was getting interviewed, though, and he was just like, yeah, I mean, I've had 9 surgeries, probably like 20 concussions. And then he said, I'm fixed. Just throw away. He's got an 8-pack. He looks like he's having the time of his life. He seems to be clear-headed and happy. I don't know if you're fixed, but that led me to think about a teammate of mine named Pat Angerer who, I mean, he had an interesting take. We'll talk about it on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Hey, Nick, what is this this song that's playing right now?
That's the old Destruction Derby. High energy U.S. dirt track rock with driving guitars and punchy horns.
That's exactly what it felt like to me. Welcome back
Punchy.
to the Pat McAfee Show. Speaking of punchy, big time news out of Miami last night. Well, yesterday, I guess. The Miami Heat Arena, their sponsorship is up for grabs, and a Miami staple of a production company that's been around since I was in high school.
Yes.
Since the internet existed,
Since
pretty
the
much.
internet started, since it was the dial-up internet back in the day, a staple of Southern Florida is looking to get into the game of. Zito's just screaming back here. I mean, it's I absolutely love him. The Bang Bros production company has officially submitted a $10 million proposal to become the presenting sponsor of what is now the
To be honest, I have no idea.
Miami Heat Arena.
I wanted to say Quicken Loans, but I think that's Cleveland.
That's Cleveland.
It's American Airlines Arena, which, by the way, great airline. I out of all of them, we travel a lot. American Airlines, not a bad one. They have the widest seats. They have the widest seats out of all of these standard. All planes suck. I mean, that's what everybody has to know. There's a lot of complaints about traveling and planes, and they all suck. But I think American Airlines does well, and I think they had a good run there with the Heat, a good tenure. There were some championships. Braun came to town. But now that the sponsorship is up, I do believe we should take some thought, if we're the Miami Heat, into giving these Bang Bros a chance. You know, what started out as some home movies has become a conglomerate in the fornicate game.
43 websites.
They own 43 websites. This isn't a small business. This is an empire of fornication. This is a company that Miami should be proud of. Other notable Miami businesses, cocaine,
Yep. Cigars.
cigars.
Organized crime.
Jeez, really? I was looking for some positive stuff.
Great Hispanic food.
Incredibles. Incredible food. Incredible people, I'd assume. The nightlife's probably awesome. The beach is beautiful. Tourism's great. But what empires do you really know from Miami? And I hate to say this. People have been saying this since the beginning of time. If you're looking to move the needle, have somebody move their trousers. And that is, Bang Bros have probably affected more humans on planet Earth than any other company out of Miami in its history. And I'm not talking about just affecting them. I'm talking about a personal relationship with people.
Yes.
I'm talking a very intimate operation, the Bang Bros.
Hands on.
I'm talking hashtag Bang Bros Cares is how they ended that thing. That is such a hilarious thing. And we talked about this. Is there any chance that the Miami Heat agree to this?
No.
None. I like the thought of Pat Riley having to sit in a meeting since he's the president of the Miami Heat and actually look over a proposal from Bang Bros for $10 million. Having to search Bang Bros, all the secretaries at the Miami Heat are like, oh, we just got a new proposal. Let's go to Bang Bros. Let's search it into Google. All of a sudden, J-Max in there just tearing things up. It's a very interesting world. But it would not be uncommon for a I don't want to say, I don't even want to put Bang Bros in this because they are a production company.
Yeah.
I mean, they make adult films.
High quality.
Everybody has their probably their run with them. I mean, literally they've been around since 2000, probably 2000. I mean, it's 20 years they're into this business. It's hard to start a business in the last 1 year, let alone 20. But Amway sponsors the Orlando Magic Arena. Amway has been accused of being a pyramid scheme, a fraudulent operation for numerous times. I'm not saying they've ever been convicted of it. I think it's pretty difficult to figure out if someone's a pyramid scheme. So if you get accused numerous times, let's just go ahead and assume. I mean, you can't speculate, but I'm assuming that if 4 or 5 different people are like, hey, this is a pyramid scheme, it's a fraudulent operation, they get to sponsor an arena. They're a bad company, by some people would say. They're probably a good company, too. They probably do good things, I would assume, just like all pyramid schemes. At some point, there's something good, but there's a lot of fraudulent stuff. If Amway can sponsor it, how come the movie makers can't do it? How come the movie makers can't sponsor it down there in Miami?
My favorite part is that they're going to call it the Bang Bros Center, a.k.a. BBC.
Well, that might be tough because the BBC, we all know it for only being the British Broadcasting
Correct.
Channel,
Correct.
which is what we were referring to for sure. Not probably the three-letter thing that Bang Bros probably created,
Yeah.
by the way.
I'm excited also for the shuttle that's to and from games from hotels will just be the Bang Bus.
Classic. Diggs, you...
Doesn't 10 million seem light, by the way?
That's what I was going to say.
I figured naming rights for a stadium would be $100 million.
Well, I think that is... I mean, I think it was Bang Bros flexing how much money they have.
Okay.
I think that was saying, like, yeah, we could afford a $10 million. Just so everybody knows, we could afford this if it went through. But Miami Heat's probably out will be, we're looking for somewhere near $20 million for this. It's not for 1 year. That'd probably be a multi-year contract.
Yeah, you would think.
I looked into... Okay, so when I was going to retire, I looked into the naming rights of the Indianapolis Colts practice facility.
Hilarious.
Okay, so it was the Indiana Farm Bureau practice facility, and the contract was up. And I started poking my head around asking what the price was because I was going to retire, and there was going to be a general manager that I didn't know was fired. I thought he was still going to be on the team, and he was going to have to walk into the Pat McAfee practice facility every day. And I looked into what the price was, and it was something we could currently do and could do back then.
Really?
Yeah, but all you're getting is your name on a building. And every time ESPN comes from there broadcasting live from the blah, 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 they have to wear my patch on their shoulder jersey thing. I looked into it. I absolutely looked into it. And the price was something that I think we could have afforded if we really wanted to. And I was going to try to negotiate the deal without the name being said ever. It was going to be an email deal like Barry Bonds does with his car dealerships. And I was going to make that guy walk into the Pat McAfee practice facility every single day. And he got fired. So I chose not to stick with it. There's a chance that I was going to run with that, though. And we're past that now. He and I have, he and I have spoken since all this has happened. Now that I'm older, I'm in a different phase. I don't know where he is. I'm past it, but at the time...
Big of you.
Yeah, I'm an adult, man.
Big of you.
I mean, I got contracts with 4 publicly traded companies, you know? I don't have time to deal with a guy that was very rude to me years ago. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have retired. I wouldn't be where we're at right now. Wouldn't be in a box truck in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
No.
What time is it right now? Does anybody know the time? We don't have a clock in here.
10:29.
10:29. We should get to a break because Herb Street's on the other side. We should definitely talk to Kirk Herbstreit. Tweet your questions to hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live. You can spell my name wrong like ESPN did last year, a couple weeks ago in Cincinnati, but it won't be asked. If you have a question for Kirk Herbstreit, go ahead and tweet it in. If you have a question for us, go ahead and tweet it in. I'm excited to listen to Kirk Herbstreit talk. Every time I talk to him, every time I get a chance to talk to him, his brain is incredible. All the guy does is study college football, and he delivers it in a beautiful fashion. That College Game Day show has become his show.
Yes.
That's his show. And it's one of the most watched shows literally on earth. Good for him. He'll be back on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It is Friday the 13th. Very spooky operation here. Damn near a full moon tonight, but let's get right to it. The man joining us now is the voice of college football, host of College Game Day. He'll be calling the Clemson-Syracuse game tomorrow night, and we'll be doing College Game Day from Ames, Iowa. Handsome man, smart man, who's literally in the middle of a production meeting. So thankful for his time. Former Ohio State quarterback, Kirk Herbstreit. Hey, boy, Kirk.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great. I heard you're in the middle of a production meeting. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day here to chat with us. I'll be quick.
No problem.
Hey, that first week, it seemed as if you called maybe 45 college football games where it feels like we're in the middle of the college football season already, even though it's early in the season. What are some things that have stuck out to you that people should be looking for who might not be college football fans yet?
Enough of me. Let's talk about you and your first game. I want to hear all about that first game. By the way, you got a heavyweight tilt coming up tonight. I don't know if people understand at Winston-Salem. Wake Forest, one of those teams people just don't respect, they don't get, they don't realize what they're capable of doing. And how about Sammy Howe, what Mac Brown and the Heels are doing? You got an interesting game coming tonight. But listen, what was the first game like? You're in there, you're getting it done, Nippert, UC, UCLA, Chip, the whole thing. What was it like?
Well, I appreciate you for asking me, and you actually told me to reach out to you day of the game, and we had a conversation before I went in there, and you said the three-man booth is going to be a little bit awkward there early. It happens for everybody. Don't be scared to raise your hand and talk, and I think the first couple quarters we were finding our way. A lot of big turnovers late. It was a lot of bend but don't break defenses. The game was kind of a terrible game, to be honest with you. A lot of things didn't happen that we thought were going to happen. A player that we were going to focus on very much got hurt like 2 days before the game, and I started learning a lot about how games are called and how storylines are thought going to happen and then things don't happen, but I thought we found a nice little groove there. Old Coach Fickle got a win early. He gave us the most access, by the way, the day before, so karma came back for him. Tonight, though, Mac Brown, Coach Clausen, both Wake and UNC have been absolutely nice to us, and you're 100% right. Tonight is going to be an incredible game, I think. I honestly, after meeting with them yesterday, I think it's going to be an incredible game, but I have a lot of fun. I don't know how you do it so well all the time.
Well, listen. Quick tidbit for any coaches that are in college football or even the NFL that are listening to this. So when Pat and his crew come in, or any crew for that matter, I like to think of it as we have a revolver. We have our own revolver, right?
Yep.
Now, if you decide you want to put some Luke Fickle Bearcat bullets inside our revolver to give us your information, to give us your spin on your quarterback, your culture, your defense, your whatever, guess what? When things go well, we'll be able to elaborate on your information you gave us. When things don't go well, we'll be able to kind of defend you and talk on behalf of you while things aren't going well. Contrary, you approach and say, I'm not talking, I'm not saying anything, they can do their own work, they can do their own prep, that's fine. I still have my revolver. Now I'm just going to put Pat's bullets inside this revolver. Now, if they choose not to participate, then when things go well, you have your own spin. And when things don't go well, you have your own spin. And that's how the game is played. So you learned it week one. One staff, it sounds like, was willing to be, help you out as much as they could, and the other one didn't. And you probably found yourself way more informed on one side of the ball, which is a shame for the other side.
Kirk, I'll tell you what, Coach Fickle and the boys, not only did they give me everything out of their equipment room, they gave me the Iron Bearcat Award from the weight room. They gave me all the information I needed. Chip Kelly put us on a conference call. Didn't work as well because I don't think he was as open. I didn't know as much. But I might as well have been a damn recruiter for the University of Cincinnati when I was in that booth, just strictly because of those meetings beforehand.
Yeah. Well, man, we've had a couple weeks, like you said, about the sport in general. By the way, we're loving having you around the game, and obviously I've known you for a long time, but most people hear your name and they think of the NFL, but it's cool to see you calling games. And like I said, you have a fun one tonight. The first couple weeks, I don't know about you, but I had Joe Burrow and LSU down in Austin last week, and to me, he and Jalen Hurts and even Justin Fields at Ohio State, all three of these quarterbacks, part of that transfer portal moving over, and taking advantage of it. And to their credit, man, they all early, but they all look incredible. What Jalen Hurts is doing in Norman is scary. Bigger challenges, obviously, ahead for him. Joe Burrow with this new system. Joe Brady came over from the Saints. He's 29 years old. He's their new passing game coordinator. He spent some time with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Before that, he was with Joe Moorhead up at Penn State. So he's got a very attacking style. So LSU, man, always been a team that's won with just defense. But think about it. They had Jarvis Landry, OBJ, and Jeremy Hill on one offense and still lined up in an I formation and just tried to play not to lose on offense. And now they are attacking. 5 receivers out, throwing the ball. So it's a totally different mentality. And then what Justin Fields has done at Ohio State coming over from Georgia, right now executing flawlessly. So those 3 individuals and those teams have really stood out up to this point.
That LSU game was electric to watch. Watching that LSU offense open it up, I didn't even know who the hell that Burroughs kid was, but he got loose. I liked seeing his dad up in the screen too, doing the hook him down. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. Jalen Hurts looks like a real quarterback. I don't think I watched enough of Jalen playing at Alabama, but my thoughts of Jalen were always like, he's like Tim Tebow, okay? He's a really strong guy. He's an athletic guy. Can't throw as well. Good leader, blah, blah, blah. Whenever he debuted out there, Norman, I mean, he was slinging the rock, Kirk. I mean, he looked like a legit quarterback there.
If you and he and I were just standing on the field just throwing the football, like last year, 3 years ago, you would never walk away and think that kid can't throw. You would be like, damn, that kid's got an arm. Like, it's never been about you can't throw. It's been about, and you've probably been around guys like this, working through progression. He's been such an athlete and the best athlete on the field most of his life that if the first receiver's not there, what is he going to do? And I don't know if Pat did this in school when you were in school, but they're a great athlete. He can just take off and make a play. He's always been able to do that, and Jalen even did it at Alabama and made plays. Well, when Tua came in, he started working through the progressions, and they started lighting up scoreboards because he was throwing the ball. And so the knock on Jalen became, he's a great athlete, he's got a big arm, but he's not willing to work through the progressions and be patient. So he goes to Norman, and now we're watching Lincoln Riley's offense, and a couple games in, not necessarily against great opponents, but like you said, man, he's working the offense, he's running only when he has to, working through his progression. So it's fun to see. I know they have UCLA this week, and then things will get a little bit tougher once they get into the Big 12 and have to really be challenged a little bit more.
Okay, so tomorrow night, before I let you go here, back to your production meeting for the greatest show on TV, College Game Day, every Saturday. Clemson, Syracuse tomorrow night. I believe this is the first game that you'll be calling where your kids will be on the sideline. Now, granted, there was an incredible moment on College Game Day where they showed your kids on the field. I kind of got emotional. I don't know if you did, but it was a cool thing. That Clemson team, now Trevor Lawrence has thrown more picks here in the first couple games than almost all of last year. Did the pressure get to Trevor Lawrence that he was the guy, or are they just kind of going through some lumps right now? And do you expect Clemson to continue to just be an absolute dominant force?
Well, keep in mind, 2 years ago they went up there and lost on a Friday night, and their quarterback at the time, Kelly Bryant, got banged up and had a hurt ankle coming into the game, got a concussion, went out of the game, and they ended up losing on a Friday night. They were number 1 or number 2 in the country that year. Last year at home, Kelly Bryant ends up leaving the team because Trevor Lawrence was announced the starter the previous week. First game out of the gate, Trevor Lawrence gets hurt. And they have to bring in Chase Bryce, who basically was the third-string quarterback, and they're holding on for dear life, and they're losing in the fourth quarter, 23-13 with a third-string quarterback, and they basically just started handing it off to Travis Etienne, and they were able to come back. Bryce converted a big 4th down and 9, and they won the game. But the point is, Syracuse has been able to knock out quarterbacks and compete with Clemson the last 2 years. So even though they got blown out last week against Mike Locksley in Maryland on the road, they have Clemson's full attention because of the last 2 years. As far as the interception, I always feel that it's only 2 games. Let's watch how the season unfolds. This kid has so much upside. He's got a ridiculous group of wide receivers, and Travis Etienne, who could be one of the best backs in the country. So I think it's a matter of time till they really start to find their rhythm. But whether it's NFL or college, when you get so much hype there's a tendency to want to try to press, maybe try to live up to that hype. I'm not saying he's doing that yet, but the interceptions to me, with only 4 in the year last year and already 3, that's a little bit, I think, of a little bit of a misleading number. Let's see how he performs against, by the way, a defense that's got 2 defensive ends. Both these dudes had 10 sacks apiece last year. So on the road in that environment where you really have a hard time hearing, it's sold out. First time since like '98 that the Carrier Dome is sold out. So we'll see if this defense can try to get after Lawrence and try to rattle him.
Well, I appreciate you so much for taking time. I can't wait to watch that game. I can't wait to watch College Game Day from my house tomorrow morning. I know you got to get back to the production meeting. You're officially a part of my first week of live shows. I'll be forever indebted for you for that. Kirk, I can't thank you enough for everything, man. Good luck this weekend and continue to crush it on the television.
Man. Yeah, hey, have fun tonight. We'll be watching. Congrats on this great radio show, and anytime you guys need me, let me know. I'd love to join you.
Kirk, you're the best. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirk Herbstreit. What a guy, dude. What a guy. Hey.
Just the nicest human.
He is a nice guy. And I like that he mixes it up on Twitter, too. You know? He mixes it up on Twitter, which I think as former athletes, which I talked to him about in the past.
Yeah.
As former athletes, everybody's always like, oh, Pat, why do you – I can't do it anymore because I have too many followers. I can't. It used to be fun whenever I was a smaller operation on the Twitter where if somebody would trash talk me or say something to me, for instance, like Damon Amendola's fans, they've been talking to me. Back in the day, whenever I was young, I would enjoy that type of give and take, right? It's just as an athlete, especially as somebody – I mean, I'm a little chirpy. Whenever you're kicker and punter, you can't talk a lot, right? I can't talk a lot of trash to any other football player. But some dumbass on Twitter wants to say something to me, like, I can definitely bury you, bub, right? And I used to love that. I used to absolutely love that. Then the following gets too big. Anything I do, my people, which are an incredible, incredible army of individuals that I am so thankful for, then they start piling on the person. Then Indy Star writes articles about me weaponizing my followers. So I can't do anything. But Kirk Herbstreit is not scared to give a little boom, boom. And I love that. I absolutely love it. Makes him a human. He's incredibly attractive. He's incredibly smart. He's incredibly successful. He's the voice of college football. And there on Twitter, you're like, yeah, this guy's a human for real. And I like that.
I think he's, I would say, probably the best, besides you, obviously.
Thank you. Smart, by the way.
Color guy going.
No, he's better than me, though. I mean, he literally has a movie theater in his house where he just watches every single college football team for like 7 months of the year.
NFL and NCAA, I'm saying. Like, I think he's the best color
smooth,
guy.
Man. He's just so smooth. When they were thinking about potentially putting him in the Monday Night Football booth, I was so excited. I was like, get him in there, man. I just think he's good. And he's won an Emmy. I mean, he's literally won awards for being great. Mm-hmm. And he's just a quarterback from Ohio State who just so happens to live in Nashville now. And he's found his niche. He's good, man.
I think he's so good because you could tell how incredibly passionate he is about the game. And it shows. It comes through.
Did you hear him putting over the Clemson wide receiver group, by the way? His kids are in that. Hey, that wide receiver group, I'll tell you what. I mean, some of them might have come from my seed, but that entire group is incredible. Wrapping up the first hour here. Mm-hmm. I think we've had a pretty good little day.
Yeah, obviously.
10:48 here, Friday the 13th. Oh, the concussions. Yes. Here we go. I got 2 texts, by the way, while Kirk Herbstreit was on from ESPN people that are in the production meeting, I think, with him, that were like, hey, we are literally in the middle of a production meeting. If you can make this quick, we would all be very thankful. And we did, by the way. I think
quickest interview we've done of the week.
Yeah, in and out.
I had more questions.
Yeah, of course we did. It could have been an hour easily.
But we did it for the good of the game. By the way, if game day is good tomorrow, you're welcome.
Uphill battle, but I mean the show will be great. I'm not worried about that. The atmosphere is what You're
oh,
really
oh my God, yeah. Ty! I've never heard you bury a city like this before.
How far away is Ames from Iowa? From the University of Iowa?
Like an hour and 15 minutes, maybe, hour and a half.
For those that don't know, Ty Schmidt is currently standing. He's been standing for every show. He's one of the best miserable humans on earth. When I say that, I mean that. When things go bad for Ty Schmidt, it's terrible for him, great for everybody else. And you've been a Hawkeye your whole life, I'd assume?
Oh, yeah. You bet.
You turned down Harvard to go to Iowa.
Well, I mean, I'm from a Hawkeye state. I'm a Hawkeye. Hawks fly, I'm going to be a Hawk till I die.
Bars. Everybody in Iowa got bars like that? Ty Schmidt did get accepted to Harvard. Mm-hmm. He actually did get accepted to Harvard. and turn it down for Iowa. Might be the only person in history to ever do that.
He made the right choice.
Speaking of the only person in history to do that, Gronk addressed the concussion manner in the most relaxed way I've ever heard a professional athlete, especially in the time that we're in right now, with an answer where he said, I've probably had like 20 concussions. And the interesting thing about that is the CBS interviewer, from the clip that we saw, we didn't get to see the entire clip, moved forward about draining blood. They didn't just specifically stop there, stop everything. Let's talk about that. And I was kind of intrigued by it because I remember whenever I was playing alongside another Hawk who flew, and he'll die as a Hawk and all that stuff, with bars, whatever. Pat Anger was this middle linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts. And there was I think it was his third year in the NFL. It was a Friday. We had played on Sunday, I believe, or Thursday before that. I forget when. But he had practiced on Wednesday and Thursday, and his locker was literally directly next to mine. He had practiced on Wednesday, Thursday for the game, and on Friday he was ruled out of the game on Sunday because of a concussion. So I went over to him and I was like, did you get a concussion in practice? And he was like, no, man. Actually, every Wednesday and Thursday, normally I don't. I'm a little foggy. I don't remember setting my alarm or turning off my alarm or doing something at home. But by later Thursday and Friday, like my brain comes back and then I'm ready for the game. It was a Friday, and he woke up and he didn't remember doing a bunch of things. He was like, well, this isn't normal. Normally my brain isn't as foggy on Friday. So he went in the training room. They had him take a test, and they're like, yeah, you clearly have a concussion. You have to be out after he practiced 2 days.
Yeah.
So whenever I heard Gronk say this, my immediate thought was back to that moment where Pat Anger was ruled out of a game for a concussion after practicing 2 days from the week before. So I called him this morning, literally called him. I FaceTimed Pat Anger, who is currently a banker in Iowa. If you're looking for good loans, mortgage loans, you go to Pat Anger because he's going to get you a good deal. But I talked to him, and I asked him, I said, do you remember this? And he was like, yeah, I remember that. And he started talking to me about how he would always have this foggy feeling after games. It was just like a very common occurrence. It was like, yeah, after games, I'd feel foggy until like midweek. My body hurt. Also, we were on tour at all, so that was kind of coming off by Wednesday. And then my brain would, like, by Thursday, I'd be back, and then it didn't hit. And I asked him, is that every game? He was like, yeah, I don't recall a game it didn't happen. And I said, you know, like right now, modern studies are saying that foggy feeling that you had, what was a concussion. And he was like, well, this isn't great news to hear on a Friday, right? I think he told me that. He was like, well, that isn't great news. I said, did you, and can I say this on the air? I wanted to get his okay, because this is a pretty personal thing. Mm-hmm. I said, can you say that basically every game you've ever played since college, you've had that feeling? And he was like, yeah, I mean, that foggy feeling was something. We did the math. He's played in 80 games in both college and the NFL where he was a starting middle linebacker running his head into people. Every single time he felt foggy, which is what doctors are now saying is a concussion. So Pat Anger, potentially, I'm no doctor. I won't speculate. He's a good friend of mine, literally a good friend of mine. I won't say, but he's potentially had 80 concussions in his life. This is something we should really think about, because it is scary, the stats that are coming out for football players. Pat Anger said he was at his kid's practice just yesterday, football practice, cheering him on too. Like, hey, let's go. You could be just like me. He said, I just got surgery on my knee again. I crutched out there. And I was like, yeah. He said, but he would do it over in a heartbeat. He said, I would do it over in a heartbeat. If it wasn't for football, I would have never got to school. I would have never got paid. I'd be working at a 7-Eleven, potentially selling drugs. And then he said that his kids' college is paid for because of football. And I think that is where the fine line is. It's all these things happen to people. All these stats are coming out that are scaring everybody, by the way, myself included. I have a lot of friends that I think have had a lot of concussions that have run their heads into a lot of people. But the problem is you can't tell a player that, because the player's best interest in his eyes is being financially stable, taking care of his family, not even thinking about these long-term effects. So Gronk having like 20 concussions is very scary to think about. Just like Pat Anger having potentially 80 foggy situations, which people are saying are concussions, is that? But I would assume both of these guys love the game so much. And it's like, when do you have to save the player from the player? When do you have to do that? And I think that's why the NFL has changed so much. That's why I know fans hate the new game. This is soft. But players do not want to slow down. Players do not want to stop what they're doing. Players don't want to have to affect their game, change the way they play, because it might make them worse at football, which in the end will affect them long term. And I think it's a scary situation, and I'm happy the game's changing towards it, although I do miss the old days where myself included used to just go headhunt folks. But it's obviously not good for anybody.
Even scarier, during the interview, Gronk said he's not worried about his sons playing football because all the football injuries are fixable. I don't think Gronk understands what concussions are. They're not fixable. Like,
you don't know. There's those brain pills. You keep it active. If you use it, you won't lose it. That's what they say with the brain. I hope that's the case. Pat Anger also complimented the independent doctor that's there to say, hey, this person has a concussion, because the player would never want to come off the field. This concussion thing's a real thing. And I have a lot of friends, I think, that are going to have to potentially worry about it.
Yeah.
I hope they figure it out. And I think it's smart that the game's changed a little bit. We'll be back on the other side. I'm going to run, take a leak. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Big thanks to Chase Rice. It is 11:01 here on a beautiful Friday, the 13th of September, 2019, years after Jesus Christ died. We are in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because this is the home of UNC Wake tonight at 6 o'clock on ESPN, where I'll be commentating with Mr. Hasselbeck, Adam Amin, and Molly McGrath. Diggs is joining me. He has something he really wants to say.
No, I just the you can't see it on the radio, so I was gonna not say it, but for the thing, your belt pack looks like if someone were to rig a bomb and just strap it to you, and you had to have call SWAT to get it off.
We may or may not be running with a 40-pound weight belt around my waist currently, but we are in a box truck that is about 75 times better than what it was yesterday.
Yes.
I can't help but thank the people from DAZN, Westwood One, Tim McAfee, and everybody that made this thing come together, and also the boys here, joined by Nick, Diggs, Foxy, Ty, and Zito. We're taking your questions on the Twitter because our phones don't work. Even though it did work for Kirk Herbstreit, we can't give that number out. It is Ty's exact cell phone. Hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live if you want to be a part of the show. In the first hour, if you weren't listening, if you're listening to another show, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for listening. First hour, we had Kirk Herbstreit on for about 7-8 minutes. He was coming to us live from a gymnasium. He was currently in a production meeting for College Game Day. He talked about how Clemson I don't know if Ty's live or not right there, but Ty is handling business in the back. He's going Clemson-Syracuse tomorrow night. He's excited about that. College Game Day is going to be electric. We talked about how the Bang Bros should get a real shot.
Yeah.
They should get a real shot. Hey, Pat Riley, give these entrepreneurs, this entertainment empire, a shot at getting the naming rights of the Miami Heat.
They're a real company.
They're a real company.
Deserve real respect.
They own 43 other companies.
Correct.
Just bought Hustler for $11 million.
Correct.
I mean, if you're in a fornication game and you own 43 other fornicating companies, I mean, you're a conglomerate at this point. Shout out to Bang Bros making play, trying to get into the sports game. I can respect that. Something wrong, Ty?
No, it's wild. It's a wild situation. I love it, but it's wild.
It is a very wild situation. You know what, though? Hugh Hefner would have been able to get in if he wanted
Yes.
to. If Hugh Hefner wanted to buy the naming rights for the Los Angeles Lakers Staples Center or whatever, he could have been able to do it. They could Playboy whatever they wanted to do. I think the Bang Bros should give them a little bit more respect what they've been able to pull off down there in
Honestly,
South
I think it's just a genius marketing move because I think the number was too low. They know they're not going to get it, but as far as marketing, it created a lot of buzz yesterday.
Good for the Bang Bros. Not that they needed it, by the way.
No, they're doing fine.
I don't think they need to market at all. Their demographic is going to find them.
Yeah.
And nowadays, much quicker than it used to back in the day when you had to quietly somehow get to your family's computer. It had to dial, I think, space at some point. It sounded like it was fighting to get on air, get on the internet. They've been going for 20-some years. Good for the Bang Bros, and I hope they make it. We talked about the Gronkowski concussion thing. That is a wild scene. And in the 11 o'clock hour here, we have Kurt Warner at 11:30 to talk about the NFL football. We talked about the Carolina Panthers Buccaneers last night. Boring game. Kickers did great, which is awesome. Is the Carolina Panthers whole thing coming crashing down? We'll find out, I guess. It looks like it. He's wearing bonnets in post-game press conferences. He looks miserable, but he thinks things are going well in there. Cam Newton is one of the greatest gifted athletes we've ever seen. Will he ever get back to that status? Who knows? Shout out to Joey Sly from Virginia Tech, where they said he was actually from West Virginia, which, hey, by the way, Mountaineers, we'll take that credit on the screen last night. 4 for 4 with a 51-yarder long time. Great for the brand, just like Troy Aikman was. Now, what I really want to dive into here, and this is a real conversation to be had, because it kind of talks about the NFL as a whole right now. If you look at Antonio Brown, not his current situation in civil lawsuit, where he went live on his Instagram last night saying he was going to call God.
Multiple call gods. He was training in the TB12 facility with Alex Guerrero. I thought it was interesting because I think Tom Brady keeps that facility highly, highly secretive and tight-lipped. And for AB to go in there and just IG Live it, I was like, okay, this is either one of two things. Either he's all good with AB or AB's just doing what he wants to do again.
Which we aren't sure what it could be. It could be completely. It could be both. It could, with the way AB is, that could be Tom Brady could be like, yeah, man, do whatever you got to do. Alex Guerrero, yeah, do whatever you got to do, man. People don't normally get a look inside our Area 5112 here, TB12 thing, but go ahead and give it a go. Whatever you got to do. Did not talk about the civil lawsuit that's happening, right?
No.
Didn't mention it at all. Just said he was going to call God and that the devil was trying to get him.
Yeah, he made vague references as in Satan's always going to try and bring you down. You got to stay on top of things. Call God.
Okay. So aside from all of that that's happening, when Antonio Brown wanted out of Pittsburgh, he forced his way out. Just forced his way out. When he wanted out of Oakland, he literally forced his way out. Odell Beckham Jr., people are saying he forced his way out.
Yes.
Odell Beckham Jr. forced his way out of the New York Giants organization. Players are tending to do this more and more often, it feels like. In the NBA, I think this was a much more real thing where players are moving and grooving a lot more. But in the NFL, it was never really that big of a thing. Now it's becoming a thing. In Miami, Minkah Fitzpatrick has requested a trade, and the Dolphins said, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you got to do. He played in 50 of 70 snaps last week. He was a first-round draft pick last year. By all accounts, a pretty good corner in the NFL. He's young, though. It's only his second year. Only his second year. In my second year, I was just hoping I would remember the Crown Royal for the away games so I couldn't get cut. But he is literally like requesting to get out of there, which Pro Football Talk reported was happening last week after the obviously
Yes.
tanking. Fitz Magic bring us to Tua. But, I mean, they decided to quit before the season. They started doing that whenever they sent Laramie Tunzel out. Kenny Stills out, played Jay-Z, 8 straight songs. Flores bringing in a whole new mindset, which, by the way, I think if you're a Dolphins fan, you're like, all right, cool. At least we know that we're going to suck this year. No, most years we have a little bit of hope. But Fitz Magic, I don't think has deserved this. We are big Ryan Fitzpatrick fans. I would like, if anybody down there, to request a trade for it to be Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Let's get him on a Super Bowl contender. How about the
Seriously.
Jets? Send him up the Jets. They got mono. They got mono at the Jets facility. I don't even know how that happened. No, granted, I heard it's a very dangerous disease for somebody that's 22 years old.
He said he's already rapidly losing weight.
That's what 12-year-olds have to deal with mono on a regular basis. 13-year-olds have to deal with it on a regular basis. I guess if you're 22 years old having to deal with it, it's much worse, they say. It's like chicken pox as an adult can kill you, but as a kid, you just look like a nerd in a corner that can't touch other kids. Right?
Yeah, I got mono my freshman year of college, actually, right before spring break. Lost like 25 pounds in a week.
Oh, it's a good timing.
We talked yesterday. Good for you. Get a good bod before you go down there.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
long were you out for, though? That was like a 3-week thing. If a kid got mono
At
in
least,
school, he was
at least.
gone for 3 to 4 weeks. It was like he was in exile. They're like, this kid got the Black Plague. He's got this thing where he's just losing his weight. Lock him up in his house. Don't let him come to school for a month. That's kind of the way they treated it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I missed all of finals week and the week before that, and then incidentally actually went to Mexico on spring break, which I was not supposed to do. You're not supposed to be drinking on
Ty,
mono.
this feels like you were attempting to get mono finals week, the other week, and then you just so happen to bounce back into spring break. But this could be a couple-week thing here for golf.
Adam Gase,
Miserable.
absolutely miserable. 14's going to be out with mono. And that's that.
We're going to bring Trevor in. Obviously, he's not a good quarterback. That's basically what Gase was saying. And by the way, eyes were wide open in that meeting whenever he lifted his head up, because that's the first thing I'm looking for is whether or not that opening press conference was a potential Miami Dolphins offensive line coach's extra supply, or if that's how Gase always is. By the way, if Gase is always woke with those eyes wide open, I respect it. I respect it a lot, and we shouldn't have judged him as much as we did on that opening press conference. But anyways, Ryan Fitzpatrick should be down there looking to get a trade then. That guy's only got a couple years left. That big Harvard brain of him with that incredible beard is going to win some games. He should want out of there. But this Minkah Fitzpatrick guy was like, I want out. And the Dolphins were like, yeah, if you can find a team that wants you, man, just go ahead and get the hell out of here. The ship's going down. We're not going to leave. We're going to have the band keep playing. We got 15 more games we got to get after. But if you want to get the hell out of here, do what you got to do. So what does Minkah do? Does he start tweeting teams? Like, does he go like at Cleveland Browns?
How fun do you think it is if you're in a bad situation and you get permission? It's basically like Madden, where you get to go out and just try to seek your own. You get to seek your own trade. Like you get to go all the other teams. Me for a first, like me for a second. What's it going to take?
At Browns. ... Was wondering what it would take to get me out of Miami. But this goes back to the thing that a lot of the old heads are saying now. How if there's any adversity at all, you younger generation, Foxy, have no idea how to handle it. If there's anything bad going on, instead of trying to take it head on and learn from it and experience from it, you try to get away from it so you can just have it all good times, which, by the way, I don't mind that. I've done that a lot. But there is something to be said about having to battle through some bad times because the sun is brightest after darkest dawn. Without the rain, how do you respect the sunshine?
Absolutely.
That's my question. Is Minkah Fitzpatrick going to be softer because he's trying to get out of this situation? Has Minkah Fitzpatrick already burned every bridge in the Dolphins organization because he's publicly said, I want the hell out of here? How does his teammates look at him and say, you know what, I want to play football with that guy? How does anybody do that? I don't know. I think these are things that need to be asked and thought about, though, whenever you're publicly looking for a trade in the middle of the season and not 100% sure if it's going to happen.
I think, honestly, other teams, other players around the league wouldn't care about this because everyone knows that the Dolphins are a bleep show. So
Hey, really good job there.
Thank you. Professional.
That was really good.
It showed up in my brain before I said it. And
now we're thinking before we're saying things.
It's wild. Wild being on the radio.
Hey, this show is
Never used to do that.
I don't think I've done it yet. I hope I get there sometime. They're always like it's an acquired taste, like beer. You'll get there.
Yeah.
I wonder if thinking before you speak is like an acquired
Trust
trait.
me, brain hurts a lot right now.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I don't think like they know that Miami's such a disaster that other players on other teams are like, good for you, man. Like,
Yeah, but I'm talking about the players in his locker room.
oh yeah, well, they're probably in the same situation. They won out too.
Yeah,
But do
spin
they?
zone. Minkah Fitzpatrick is ultra competitive, and he either wins or he quits ahead of time because he knows they're going to lose, and he can't stomach that.
I honestly, you can see where he's coming from. Where you see Laramie Tunsil get out of there. You see, by the way, Laramie Tunsil, we don't know if he's going to have success in Houston or not. He's obviously an incredible tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But if Deshaun Watson gets hurt like next game, which is still possible because there's 4 other offensive line positions, by the way. You bring in Laramie Tunsil, that's awesome. There's still a revolving door next to him, I believe. I mean, and he gave up a sack, which he doesn't do often. But Laramie Tunsil is obviously an upgrade for the Houston Texans. Yeah. But Deshaun Watson looks like he's potentially going to have an Andrew Luck-like career where he's going to have to get up a lot. Which I respect his toughness. But are the Houston Texans going to be a heater of a team? Maybe they're in the AFC South. Who knows what's going to happen? There. But I think you see that. And as a young guy, Minkah, he's young, man. Yeah. He's in year 2. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. You are a young player. Now, granted, he's a very good player, but I just don't know how I feel about being that young, requesting to get the hell out of there. That is a big Richard move. You know what I mean? That is a massive gut sack move as a second-year player.
Well, I'm going to defend the millennials real quick.
Oh, great.
To Nick's point in the ultra-competitive thing, let's assume he went to some big-time high school, didn't lose a lot of games there. He went to Alabama, correct?
Yes.
Didn't lose a lot of games there. Now he's in Miami. He's losing a lot of games.
Which would add even more to the case that you millennials just can't handle just a moment lack of success.
But he knows they're losing on purpose.
Have you ever walked up hills both ways to a place?
Seriously, in 6 feet of snow.
Have you ever done that, Foxy?
I haven't done that. I've seen the Pittsburgh hills. They're not like Michigan hills.
Yeah, and somehow they're up hills everywhere you're going. Have you ever done that, Foxy?
No, I've never done that before.
Foxy, have you ever shoveled snow?
Absolutely. Lots of snow.
I thought that was going to be
I know. Your family definitely had a snowblower.
No.
Yeah, it definitely had a snowblower. Grew up on that country club.
No chance.
Shooting it into your
You
neighbors.
probably had a tractor snowblower, too. You didn't even have to push it.
I got 3 brothers. You send them all of us out there with shovels, and we're shoveling that driveway.
You guys probably have a personal plow, to be honest.
Nope.
Yeah, you do. Probably on the back of a quad.
Nope.
Or on the front of a quad here.
No quads. My dad has a truck, too. We could have a plow.
You got a snowmobile?
Actually, yeah, we do.
Yeah,
does it have a plow in front of
Knew
it?
it.
No
Get
plow.
the microphone out of his hand. Get the microphone out of his hand.
I got a bet for you that I saw on the internet yesterday. Guy bet 3,000 to win 100,000 that the Dolphins go 0-16. 3,000 to win 100,000.
Who took that bet?
I'm not sure what the casino or sports book it was, but I could find out for you for sure.
Good for that guy getting that bet in there. That's a lot better than a lot of other bets that are out there.
I mean,
Which we will get to, by the way. We're going to give you a couple locks for this weekend, so if you want to go and get a little loose, don't gamble more than your means.
no.
Honestly, if you're going to drink alcohol, don't drink more than your means.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Whatever makes you feel a little good.
Don't be the worst of all time and make rules have to be changed because you can't handle your. Now, granted, this is coming from a guy that was found shirtless on a street, so I had to learn the hard way as well. If you're gonna do mushrooms, don't do more than your means. If you're gonna smoke vitamins, don't do more than your means. If you're gonna gamble, don't do it. Like, let's just enjoy everything and not have to have everything ruined because you yourself is a terrible guy. I have heard, though, these vapes are not good for you. I have heard it, and it might be because we are in the home of tobacco right now that's getting pushed even harder, but boy, it sounds like these things are killing people. That's good for us here because we don't hit vapes like every 14 seconds in this office at all. Do we? We don't do that, Ty.
No, not at all.
No, we would never do that.
They are saying popcorn lung is very real.
Yes.
So think about that as well. Tweet us your questions, hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live. We'll be back on the other side of the break. And in a few minutes, we have Kurt Warner to talk about the NFL. I'll ask him about this Minka Fitzpatrick thing.
Yeah.
This is going to become very common, I think, which is, by the way, good for the NFL news cycle, good for people that have talk shows. Don't know how great it is for future life, though, for the young Foxies of the world. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Heater.
I need my fix. Can you bring a kiss? I'll take it all. I'll leave you wide open. You one for your cheek. I did the same last week. I knew you'd fall. I had my hands full. Ayo, 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 ayo. That last girl tried to pull that same game. I got this past girl, I don't want the same thing. This ain't what I asked for, but you got all this ass for. Why do y'all all match for, not fast for? Hey, you know I'm a savage. Oh, living life so savage. Hey, you know I'm a savage.
Welcome back to the Pat Aggie Show. Is everything all right, Foxy? Look alive, bro. Jeez. Almost just tipped over the truck with that fast acting tonight.
You're like you're working at a Halloween scare house.
By the way, it's almost that time. I'm excited for Halloween. I will be calling WVU Baylor on Halloween night on ESPN. I would assume I am going to be ready to go. I would assume I will be dressed
I
up.
was gonna say you guys will dress up probably, right?
Spooky? You gonna be spooky?
No, I'm not a big spooky guy. I'm more of a ha-ha guy.
Maybe like a Jackie Moon.
Possibly Jackie Moon in a booth. Your pregame entertainment. Your owner. Your color analyst, Jackie Moon. No, I'm not sure. By the way, if you're watching along on DAZN or our social media pages, we thank you. If you're listening right now, you can watch back. Probably worth it, to be honest. We're also giving away a Cadillac Escalade. That Cadillac Escalade giveaway was supposed to end today. But due to technical difficulties, literally and figuratively, we have extended it 1 week. Your boy Zito Perez is the man controlling the graphics. What will happen is words will pop up on the screen. They started on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, couldn't do any yesterday, did some today. You will piece together those words into a full paragraph. You will tweet those out next Friday, and the first person to get the entire paragraph perfect, word for word, will win a 2017 Escalade. Is that correct, Zito? Yep. Zito, how many people know this phrase that is being given out for the Cadillac Escalade on the screen if you're watching along at home?
Just yourself and myself.
Okay, what happened right before we went on the show? Who was trying to get involved in the entire thing and potentially rig the competition?
Undetermined?
So my fiance Sam, hates this Escalade. It's literally just been sitting in our driveway for multiple years now because it has too many buttons. I don't like it because it has too many buttons. I'm a simple man. I bought an Escalade the day after I was drafted. It almost got repoed because I didn't fully understand what a signing bonus meant. I thought that thing went into your bank account immediately upon signing my name. Turns out it took 3 months. I had to walk into the bank with a Google article telling them how much money was coming, and please don't take the Escalade. I drove that Escalade as if it was a Honda Civic. I mean, we drove that thing into the ground, did we not? I mean, that thing...
All over town, all over the city. Road trips down to Wheeling, West Virginia to hit the local casino.
Let alone I drove it to Iowa a few times. That thing's been in New Mexico. I mean, I drove that thing all over the place.
New Mexico?
New Mexico,
You
yeah.
drove to New Mexico?
Yeah, it was a bad decision, but I got there. Bad decision, but I got there. Anyways, that Escalade to me had a good run. Then that thing broke down, literally, completely, figuratively, everything. And now it has black mold in it, that particular one. But I refuse to give it up because me and that thing had a real moment there for a lot of years. It was my first sign of, oh, my God, I've made some money. I bought the Escalade, mostly because growing up I saw the big timers. You know, they had Escalades on there. T.I. Everybody in this room needs to stop singing that song immediately. Probably listening at home, I assume as well, our demographic tends to lean Caucasian. Hard to do karaoke songs and most rap songs, but I bought an Escalade. That thing ended up dying. So then years later, I was like, you know what? I missed my Escalade. Went and bought one. This is a 2017 one. This big boy. Too many buttons.
Looks great, though. Looks great.
Looks very nice. Somebody will probably love it. For me, I am too simple of a man. I couldn't understand how to operate it. So my confusion is your treasure. We are giving it away. And Sam tried to call Zito this morning, text Zito, and get the phrase beforehand so that she could get the car out of our house quicker. She was trying to give somebody she knew the phrase so this thing would be over. I want to let everybody know, I don't care if we're fornicating or not. I'm not giving anybody the code. Zito doesn't even have the entire code. I like to run a fair operation here.
Yep.
And we had to extend it to next Friday because of yesterday's technical difficulties. If you're not doing this, you're dumb.
Yes.
Honestly, you're dumb. All the videos are on DAZN. Watch them back. The words will pop up where, Zito?
Top right of the screen, so that side.
Top right corner of the screen. The words pop up there. Come and get it. It's Friday. It's Friday. You should want to get involved in a
Yes.
Cadillac Escalade giveaway.
Worst case scenario, you sell it.
Sell it. I'm not telling you to keep it because what I was going to do is I was going to sell it. I was going to sell that thing. I think it still has some value.
Yes.
It has to be turned on, though. It has not been turned on in a couple of years. Sam said there's potentially a rat that lives inside of it.
I
We'll
mean,
get that thing cleaned
I
out.
thought it was a family of rats.
Well, most rats, they do it a lot.
Yes.
Because there's actually a phrase like, hey, you guys are doing it like rats.
Fornicating like rats.
Yeah. There's that's, by the way, I have to get another word other than fornicate. And I say the F word in real life a lot, so I've been told by a lot of people I can't do that. So
Coitus.
Coitus like rats?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to use that word right there.
It's another word, though.
Does it mean the exact same thing?
Yeah.
You know who uses that word a lot? The Big Bang Theory. So that should give you an idea of who uses that word.
What does that mean?
You know exactly what it means.
No, Diggs.
It's a terrible show.
Wow. The opinions of Diggs do not reflect
You're-
that of
you're-
his employer.
You're a big Bang Theory fan?
No, I hate the show. But I would
That
never.
show stinks.
No, don't say it though. They have a cult following. Right now, Zito's probably scrolling through hashtag Pat McAfee Show live tweets of people saying they want to kill you. Big Bang Theory is a liked show. Zito can concur. By the way, DAZN has been having heart attacks with Zito's spelling on these graphics.
Business.
It's been quite an interesting. I mean, granted, we're supposed to talk about sports, and the people that were listening to the Amendola show that just only caught the second half here, I apologize. We haven't really dug deep into the sports this hour. It's hard though, because in the first hour, I feel like we literally cover everything.
Nailed it.
And I'm not going to toot my own horn or scratch my own anything, but I feel like my takes on particular things are probably better than everybody else's. Just because it's, it's like, hey, we thought it through. We have a group powwow in the morning. And we go, why are they saying that? We're going to say this. This is right. And that's what we're getting paid to do.
Yes.
And it's hard to just re-deliver it again in the second hour when we know a large majority of the people are probably listening for both hours straight. Because I'll tell you what, our type of show is a tough one to turn off. It's like a train wreck. You're going to watch it. And if I want to talk about something in the first hour, I got to talk about it in the second hour now because a lot of these Westwood stations are only choosing to put us on the second hour. Think about that Danny Amendola guy having to throw to his break after the first hour and then our show just coming in directly after. His listeners have to be so angry. They have to be so upset. You got this dry guy talking about sports like, oh, I think this should happen, this should happen. And then whammy on the other side of the break. It's the perfect occasion. They're going to be so mad. That's going to happen, though.
Let's throw him a bone. Let's give him some chance to make some money here.
Okay. How do we do that?
You want to talk about this weekend's games?
Yeah, let's do it, Diggs.
Okay. Well, there's three big games.
In the NFL. This
three-
is NFL games.
Yeah, three marquee NFL games this week.
All right.
First one, Indianapolis Colts at Tennessee. Tennessee are 3-point favorites.
This is a big deal because the AFC South is wide open right now.
Yes.
Tennessee Titans, a team that a lot of people have mocked publicly in this truck. A lot of people had to get on a stage in Nashville, Tennessee during an NFL draft situation and talk about the Tennessee Titans in a negative fashion. Didn't want to do it. Had to do it.
Yes.
What time is it? Should we go to him right now? And then just go to the break later? Let's hear what this guy has to think. This guy, Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And when his mind gets to get spewed on the NFL Network, I always learn something. He's an attractive man. He's an older man. And anytime he speaks, everybody should listen. He commands attention. Ladies and gentlemen, quarterback of the Rams, of the Cardinals, and hopefully of your life, Kurt Warner.
Good morning.
Hey, Kurt, how are you, man? How's everything going? I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Your brain is an incredible one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's good to join you. Get a chance to catch you every once in a while. Appreciate what you do and the honesty. So nice to be on with you.
Well, I appreciate that as well. I think anybody that's been in a locker room knows, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of respect for you that have been your teammates before, which means more to me than anything else. Whenever I'm looking at a guy on TV, I always check to see if any of his teammates support him in the past, because that tells me more than I need to know. A lot of your teammates have nothing but great things to say about you, so that means you carried yourself in a professional fashion in the football building, and when you get on TV, I enjoy that. Speaking of you getting on TV, you're one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time that can't be denied. The greatest show on turf. I mean, you were slinging the rock all over the place. Jacoby Brissett has had to come in for an Andrew Luck. We were just about to talk about it. The Colts and the Titans are this weekend. How do you feel about the Indianapolis Colts? How do you feel about Jacoby Brissett stepping into a situation that he could have never guessed was going to happen? And do you think the Tennessee Titans are a team that we've been overlooking, especially after they went into the dog pound with Odell Beckham Jr. wearing a $350,000 watch and stomped them out of their little doghouse?
Well, I mean, let's start with Jacoby. Always a tough situation when it's something that's unexpected. I thought he played a solid game this past weekend in San Diego, gave the team a chance. Good young team. I think they got a lot of good young talent there that they're building around. But I'll tell you, the difference between my situation and like Jacoby, when I came to the Rams, and we were one of the losingest teams in the last decade. And so there were no expectations. Even though Trent was playing lights out, we still hadn't played any regular season games, and we weren't expected to win anything, even though we had great talent. So it was easier to come in with no expectation there. The hard thing for Jacoby is he's replacing Andrew Luck, and he's replacing an Andrew Luck who had arguably his best season in the NFL last year. And so that becomes the hard part, is that this is a team that was had Super Bowl aspirations with Andrew Luck, and everybody feeling like this young team could take the next step if he continued to play that way. And now Jacoby's thrown in there, and he's got to live up to that as well. Not only are there Super Bowl aspirations, but he's got to live up to a guy, that just retired that was one of the best young quarterbacks in our league. So not an enviable position for him, but I think there's a reason they went out and signed him to the 2-year, $30 million deal or whatever it was, is because, just kind of as you mentioned, people respect him in the locker room. They know what he's about. They believe that he can win and carry this team. It's just going to take some time for him to become what he's going to become. And we also have to reserve ourselves to say he's not going to be Andrew Luck. He's going to be his own quarterback. But that's what's really, really tough, is when you follow in somebody's footsteps, because everybody's always going to be comparing you to the last guy. And that's something that he's got to be able to block out and just become his own guy. But I like this team. I think this team has a chance. If Jacoby can play solid week in and week out, I think they got good weapons on the outside. They got a good young running back, a great offensive line. They got a kind of a budding young defense, led by Darius Leonard. They got a lot of really good pieces that I think they're going to be good for a while. And then to the third part of your question with the Titans, yeah, I think it's a team we overlook, and I think it's primarily because of, like a lot of teams in the league, you're going to look at the quarterback first. And with Marcus Mariota, you have no idea what you're going to get. There's moments where he looks like, he can be that franchise quarterback. And then there's other moments where you're just wondering, okay, where's that guy we saw last week or the guy we saw a couple weeks ago? Why don't we see him each and every week? And so I think because of that, they've never really been a juggernaut on offense, that you kind of overlook them going, okay, you got really good defense, and Mike Vrabel does a great job because they throw a bunch of things at you, and that's going to be a challenge for Jacoby this week, is all these different looks. Can you figure out what they're trying to do? But there's a team that you go, okay, their defense will be good, and but their offense isn't going to score a lot of points. So if we get in the 21 range, 22 range, we feel like we can win this game, and that's why I think you overlook this team, is because they don't have the talent, or they haven't shown the consistency across the board on both sides of the ball. Now, I know they put up 43 points last week, but a whole bunch of that came late in the game when things kind of spiraled out of control for the Browns. So I think it's a great matchup, and I think we'll get a true test of who these two teams are. Are the Titans a team that put up 43 and played lights out defensively? Colts, go on the road and take San Diego, take the Chargers, to the wire. So I just think they're both good young teams, but I'm not really sure what they are completely. We need a couple more weeks to figure that out.
Okay, so you're in the media business. You and I both know this. The Dallas Cowboys move the needle. They got big-time fans. Dak Prescott, though, and you're a quarterback, so through your eyes probably means a lot more. He looked like the best Dak Prescott we've ever seen in that first week. Are the Dallas Cowboys, now that they got Amari Cooper, Zeke's happy back from Cabo, Dak Prescott seems to be all of a sudden found something this offseason. The defense is getting paid and flying around. I mean, are the Dallas Cowboys an actual team to think about this year in the NFC, or is it going to be same old down there in Jerry World?
No, I think they are a team that you have to reckon with, and you mentioned it, the good young defense. They got guys that could play on the front end. They got guys that could play linebacker position. They got guys that could play on the back end. So a complete defense, even though they're young, really good, and they can beat you a lot of ways. Offensively, we know about the offensive line and Zeke and what they bring. Amari Cooper has been elite since he's got there. Okay, so now Michael Gallup had a good game last week. Can he sustain that as a number 2 guy and give Dak another weapon out there? Randall Cobb, everybody kind of thought long in the tooth. He's not the same guy. Made a bunch of plays last week. Can those guys be the same guy? And you're right. It all comes back to Dak. And, here's the thing. When I look at franchise quarterbacks, I believe you have to be a guy that can carry a team with your right arm. That, to me, is what franchise quarterback mean, is that you have the ability when everything else goes awry, you give up a bunch of points, you can't run the football, to carry your team with your right arm. We still don't know that about Dak. The thing about it, though, is we may never know that about Dak because you got Zeke that's locked in, forever, and you got this offensive line, and you got this young defense, and they're a complete team that he may not have to carry this team on his back very often. And again, not a knock on Dak. I mean, think back to Tom Brady when he won his first and maybe went to his second Super Bowl. It wasn't on his right arm. It was on the pieces around him. Ben Roethlisberger, another one. Great defense, good running game, and he was more of a complementary piece. So there's not a knock on that. It's just, to me, when you're going to pay a guy $35 million, you want to know he can carry you if need be. I just don't know when we're going to find that out. I think Dak's done a lot of great things for where he's at in his career. He's been great in the moment, last 2 minutes of games, leading his team down. He's been great at making the plays that are there. I thought Kellen Moore did a great job of creating some easy opportunities for him last week, and he hit all those plays, and that's what you have to do week in and week out. If you don't have to carry the team, you got to make the layups. You got to make the plays you're supposed to make. He made them last week. If he continues to do that, I think the Dallas Cowboys are for real.
I think I sit alongside everybody else in the media world. I mean, obviously there's the hot takers that'll say something differently, but the Patriots look unbelievable. I mean, as a man who played quarterback late into your life in football world, you were a little bit of an older quarterback when you were at the Cardinals. How does Tom Brady somehow continue to get better? And do you think Bill Belichick and the genius up there sent mono to the New York Jets via Demaryius Thomas?
On part B, I have no idea. That's a distinct possibility that something like that happened. As far as Tom Brady, I mean, I know a lot of people look at the number, the age number, and they think that for whatever reason, guys are just going to fall off this, imaginary cliff. When they get at some point, they're going to get old, and they're going to go from being really good to just awful. I look at it and I go, as long as the guy continues to play the game the same way he played a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, meaning Tom Brady is not a runner. He's not a guy that, has to depend on his arm throwing the ball 65 yards numerous times throughout the game. He's a guy that plays the game, from the neck up. He plays it with his mind. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. He makes quick decisions. He doesn't have to push the ball down the field a whole bunch throughout a game. That I think a guy like that can play a long time. As long as you're on time and as long as you know where to get the ball and you're not designed around holding the football and buying time and winging it down the field, I don't think there's going to be this cliff that he falls off. Okay, he throws it 3 yards less far than he did a year ago. His fastball is 2 miles an hour slower than it was. Okay, his feet, he's running a 5.3 now instead of a 5.2. I mean, none of that stuff, how is that going to affect the way he plays the game? And so I just don't buy into that. Outside of injuries that start to wear you down and physically not being able to, to bring some of the stuff you bring to the table, I think Tom Brady and the Drew Breeses and those guys that keep themselves in shape and know how to play the game can really play it as long as they want to play it, as long as they're going to continue to play the same way. And so I don't expect Tom to fall off this cliff. I don't expect Drew to. I think they're going to play really, really good football, and they're going to be good in the moment, which they always are, and they're going to have a chance to compete as long as they want to compete. I just don't buy into all that as we just sit here and wait for one of these guys to fall off the cliff. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think he is so talented. His training sessions in his backyard are almost mythical and majestic at this point. I'm excited to watch Tom Brady keep it going. Now let's pivot a little bit to something completely different. You were a noted grocery bagger. Is that an accurate statement, by the way? Were you really bagging groceries before you got in the NFL?
Okay, not bagging groceries. I was a night stalker. And so I bagged a few groceries when people would come in at 3 in the morning and they needed somebody to bag their groceries. But I stocked shelves, I didn't bag the groceries. So I was in there from, 10:30 till 5:30 in the morning, cutting open boxes and putting different products up on the shelves and cleaning up the shelves and the aisles and that sort of thing. So not bagging groceries, stocking shelves.
Okay, well, we have a stat wrong on our graphic here. We called you the most accomplished grocery bagger in history for those watching at home.
I am pretty good at bagging groceries, though. I take great pride in knowing how to bag groceries the proper way.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. You're a guy who seems like you take great pride in everything, which leads me to this. Obviously, making it to the NFL was a struggle for you. It was something you had to really face a lot of adversity. It was something you had to dive deep into Kurt Warner's soul and say, do I really want this or not? How do you feel about this younger generation? And this isn't an old man on his front yard yelling at things. It's a real change that is currently happening right in front of our eyes. It happened with AB getting out of Pittsburgh, Odell getting out of the Giants. Now Minkah Fitzpatrick in his second year in the NFL has requested that he could be if he could be traded. The Dolphins said, yeah, go ahead and do it. How do you feel about these younger guys attempting to get out of a situation where sometimes that adversity can build you up a little bit and make you a better player, as opposed to taking it head on? They're deciding to go and head somewhere else and find happy and greener pastures. How do you feel about the whole situation with the younger generation in the NFL right now, controlling their own destiny a lot more than it was in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always, two sides of the tale, and you have to look at, the situation for each and every guy. But I found great pride in being able to build something. Even though the situation, whether it be the Rams, obviously that happened a lot quicker, but really like coming to the Cardinals, when nobody ever expected us to win. I don't even think management and players here ever expected us to win. And it took some time, but building that up and going to the Super Bowl was one of my greatest accomplishments, being a part of something like that. And I just think you take greater pride in building something and taking a team somewhere that nobody expected them to go, as opposed to going, we're not going to win here. Let me go somewhere else where I can find a quicker fix. So I just think situations are different. I don't ever want to judge anybody because, like down in Miami, it almost looks like they're just going, season's over. We're going to throw this in. We're going to trade everybody. That's a little different situation when you're a competitor, but I think there's something to be said to go, hey, it's not perfect right now. I want to be a part of fixing where I'm at, and I wish more guys would do that.
I think so too. I mean, granted, I was on a lot of very successful teams in my football world. We had one year where we were 2-14 there, almost completely defeated. But the people that stuck around from that, it had that feeling of we never want that to happen again. It carried a lot. I hope Minkah Fitzpatrick finds some happiness. I hope he figures it out just like everybody. But I'll be interested to see how that all works out. Kurt, final question before I let you go here, and I can't thank you enough for joining us here. You're a Hall of Famer. You're a legend. We've been showing photos here on our stream. You have become about 45 to 50 times better looking since retiring in the NFL. Is there anything to that? I mean, you look incredible right now. You're full. You're like a model almost. When back in the day, you look like the guy that was out at the pub having a beer every once in a while. How do you stay in shape? Are you a big diet guy, keto guy? You full physical fitness all the time? What are you doing, Kirk? Quite a glow up here since your retirement.
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing is, I kind of had a benefit late in my career where, unfortunately, it ended up forcing me to retire because there's the stress and the pressure of the situation. But ironically enough, when I played in my last Super Bowl, I played at 201 pounds. So I had lost a bunch of weight and leaned out right before I retired. So that was one thing. So, a little chubbier earlier in my career, leaned out right before retirement. And then in retirement, I've just kind of taken the approach that I'm never going to let myself get out of shape. So I do something every day. Might be 15 minutes of cardio, might be a little lift workout, but I do something every day. I'm a big basketball player, so play a lot of basketball. Got a little gym at my house, so I try to run 3 or 4 times a week. But, yeah, that's kind of the goal is that I want to live and be able to chase my kids around and watch them grow up. And so I take it very, I eat whatever I want. That's the other thing is I work out to eat. I work out so I can have the pizza when I want it or with the wings when I want it or whatever. But I do something every day just to go, hey, I'm not ever going to let myself get out of shape. Just do something, be active. And that's kind of been my approach in retirement.
Well, it's been working, man. You look damn good. You sound good on TV. That pickup game, what do you just have local kids come in and you just go and ball all over them? What do you do?
Come on, man. You know better than that. Most guys are about 15 years younger than me, and we are out there competing, you know how it is when you leave the football field. You got to find something to do to compete. I mean, that's what drives all of us is the want to compete all the time. And so I had to find something. I had to find my release. And so for me, it's playing basketball. And I bring a lot of guys in that played college basketball or pro in Europe, and we go at it and we compete. And I love it. It's kind of feeds that part of my soul that we all need once we retire, because we retire so young.
I hope to one day be in shape enough. It's nowhere near. I mean, I'm nowhere near that. To one day get invited to that game. My jumper's getting a little bit wet. That has to be an incredible operation over there. Mr. Warner, thank you for what you've done for the game. Thank you for what you do on TV. Congrats on all the success, not only in football but in life. We got to get to a break. Ladies and gentlemen, legend of a man, handsome man, basketballer, best grocery store shelf stalker in the history of shelf stalking, Kurt Warner. Thank you so much, Kurt.
All right, my man. Talk to you soon.
All right, we got to get to a break. Wow. Hey, you think Kurt Warner's out there just crossing up old guys that used to play in Europe?
I bet you he's getting in the post, very sweaty, bodying up people.
Bodying people up. He said he gets very competitive out there. That's awesome. We should try to set up where we're commentating that game one time, where we stream it live. Ooh, Kurt Warner, former grocery store stock shelver, is now getting wet from beyond the arc. That'd be awesome. Thanks to Kurt Warner. Good conversation there on football, too. We'll put some bets in, give a toast, and send you into an incredible weekend. UNC Wake tonight, 6 o'clock on ESPN. Me, Matt Hasselbeck, Adam Amin, Molly McGrath on the call. We're about to wrap this thing up in beautiful fashion. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Hello. Zito, is there any questions from the Twitter? You should go into a microphone already. No, you can ask me. Attaboy, Z. Hey, Zito's balancing like 45 things back there. Look at him in his little hut, too. This is the Zito hut. Much like Pizza Hut, always delivers. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm ready for some questions, Zito. I don't think the world heard you though. Go ahead, Zito.
I got some questions for you, Pat.
Okay, Zito, we're excited for it. Hashtag Pat McAfee Show live on the Twitter. We have 1 minute, Zito. Let's make it quick. Zito, ask the question.
I got a question from Dakota Levi Myers.
Okay.
He goes, is it time to worry about Vinatieri, or will he bounce back and be dominant?
The answer is no. We don't worry about the Hall of Famer. We don't worry about the GOAT. Yeah, he had a terrible game in a soccer stadium in Los Angeles, but please know this. Adam Vinatieri is the most competitive human I've ever been around. If he's playing you in checkers and you're about to win, he'll flip the board before it happens. This week has probably eaten him alive. He's quoted as saying that if he was the GM, he'd probably cut him too. Adam Vinatieri is about to put up probably 14, 15 points in fantasy, probably going from 60. If I had to guess. I hope. God darn, I hope. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. Wrapping up an incredible first week of shows. We've been having an absolute blast. Things haven't always been perfect, but we've had so much fun. Big thanks to all the guests that came on. Diggs is going to send you into the weekend with some of his locks. This kid's an Italian, so you know he's a degenerate. Diggs, what are people gambling this weekend with our friends at FanDuel? What should they be gambling on in your eyes?
All right, got 4 quick picks.
By the way, Diggs is on a heater.
2-0 last night.
Diggs is on a heater right now. I faded him last night. Bad move.
4 quick picks. 3 3-point road dogs. I got the Colts at Tennessee. Tennessee stinks against Colts. Got Minnesota at Green Bay. Close, tough division game. New Orleans at L.A. +3. Makeup game from last year. And then I like the Bills and the Giants under. Bills offense terrible. Bills defense good.
Okay, there it is. If you're going to gamble and you want to go alongside our Italian degenerate friend Diggs, those are his takes. We'll see how he did on Monday. If you're listening, no matter where you're at, what I would like you to do is raise a glass. Whatever you're drinking, it doesn't have to be beer. It could be coffee. It could be water. I like to send us into the weekend in a beautiful fashion. It's been our first week doing a live show. The same exact week, a 22-year-old got mono. Triple H was a guest. Aaron Rodgers, too, telling the world things that we never knew. This truck was hot as hell. But the show went on, and it wasn't that swell. I sweated, and I sweated some more. People made fun of me, said I look like a lady of the night at church. We talked sports. We covered all the things needed. I can't wait to get back next week. Talk about some sports. Maybe get undefeated. Damon Amendola's fans haven't loved us that much. I don't know how to tell you this. We're only going to grow. So to you I say, that sucks. I'm at UNC Wake tonight at 6. We'll probably have some headlines, hope to get some clicks. Whenever we talk sports, we're just trying to make you laugh, trying to have a couple funnies. And to be honest, there's too many companies paying us too much money. So we'll see you on Monday, 10 to noon. Cheers to me. Cheers to you. Cheers.